Welcome to Pure Experiences live streams. This is a series where we are reading the Mandukya Karika by Gaudapada, which is a commentary on the Mandukya Upanishad. So yesterday we went through the commentary of Shankara on Mandukya Upanishad, the 6 verses. Series where just as a recap, here are the 6 verses once again, on which Shankara provided excellent commentary, which is a part of the Karika that we are reading. So the first one was Hari Om. Om, the word, is all this, the whole universe. A clear explanation of it is as follows. All that is past, present and future is indeed Om. And whatever else there is beyond the threefold division of time, that also true is truly Om. What this one is saying is that Om is the word. It is a symbol that represents the whole of the existence. The existence appears as if it is flowing from the past into the future, but whole of it is present at this time, and I am going to call it by the name of Om. That which appears in time is Om, and that which is beyond time is also Om. Number 2, all this is indeed Brahman. This Atman is Brahman. The same Atman has 4 quarters. So this Om, which I am calling as naming the existence, is nothing but the Brahman of Advert. And Brahman is nothing but the Atman, which is this consciousness, this witnessing consciousness. The consciousness is existence, existence is consciousness. Whatever appears here as if flowing in the time is also consciousness. So, one and the same thing. How does this experience appear? It appears in 4 ways. He is saying it has 4 quarters. It is seen in 4 states. The first quarter is called Vishva, whose sphere of activity is the waking state, who is conscious of external objects, who has 7 limbs and 19 mouths, and who is the experiencer of gross object. This is everyone's experience, the waking state. And if you want to know what are these 7 limbs and 19 mouths, just go and check the first part. We went into details of these verses in the first part. The second quarter is Taijasa, whose sphere of activity is the dream state, who is conscious of internal objects, who is endowed with 7 limbs and 19 mouths as usual, and who is the experiencer of subtle objects. So the same thing which is experiencing the universal memory or the gross object is experiencing a private memory, also known as the subtle objects, in the second state, the quarter, which is also called the dream state. And the third is the state of deep sleep, wherein one asleep neither desires any object nor sees any dream. The third quarter is Prajna, whose sphere is deep sleep, in whom all experiences become unified, who is verily a mass of consciousness, who is full of bliss and experiences bliss, and who is the door leading to the knowledge of dreaming and waking. So very mysterious state here. There are no worlds, there are no objects, there is no dream also. There are no subtle objects also here. But it is a seed form, it is a potential for all kinds of experiences, all kinds of states, and it is a doorway that leads to other states. All other states, they arise out of this state, which is also called the deep sleep. And the sixth says that he is the Lord of all, he is the knower of all, he is the inner controller, he is the source of all. From him all beings originate, and in him they finally disappear. So who is he? You, the consciousness, the Atman, the Brahman, I, one and the same thing. It is the only thing that exists. The states, illusory states of this being come and go. They originate and they disappear in this one. And I am that. So this was a recap of Mandukya Upanishad. Many people already know these things. So now we are going to go into Gaudapada's commentary on that, which is given in. We are starting the proper commentary by Gaudapada here now. I will try reading a little bit of Sanskrit also, although it is not required. Bahishpragyo vibhir vishvo ह्यांत प्रगस्तु तेजस घन प्रगस्था प्राग्य एक एव त्रिधा स्मृता. Now what is this is being said by Gaudapada, and what does it mean? Vishva, the first quarter, is he who is all pervading and who experiences the external objects. Taijasa, the second quarter, is he who cognizes the internal objects. Pragya is he who is a mass of consciousness. It is one alone who is thus known in three states. This is in the key sentence here. The rest you already know. He has simply repeated the whole Mandukya Upanishad in this one verse, but his bottom line is, his summary is that all these three are one. It is one alone. It is a big recognition actually that there is one consciousness which is going through different states. That does not change, only the states change, only the scenery changes in front of it, and it disappears completely in the deep sleep state, out of which other states originate. What is Shankara saying here? The implication of the passage is this, that Atman is distinct from the three states. The witness is distinct from the witnessed, and he is pure and unrelated. It is established by moving in three states in succession, and also on account of the knowledge I am that, resulting from the experience which unites through memory. The Shruti also corroborates it by the illustrations of the great fish, etc. So I find this more difficult to understand than what Gaudapada said here. he has added a few things here. He is calling Atman as the witness and the states as the witnessed. And he is saying there is a distinction, there is a difference between these two. The Atman is the pure one. It has no qualities, it has no states, nothing, and is unrelated to the three states. Means the states do not define Atman. There is no relation between Atman and state. It is simply witnessing it. It is a passive watcher of these states. And it goes through these states in succession, one after the other. And there is this knowledge that I am that, the witness of all the states. And this knowledge comes through the memory. If there is no memory of the other states, there won't be this knowledge that I am the one who is going through the states. So, very interesting here, because Gaudapada never mentions the memory. He says he is known in these three states. He does not use memory. Although the Sanskrit word uses something which is similar to memory, smrita, which means recognized or remembered. In the three states, the one who is going through the three states, witnessing the three states, remember itself as being the one who is present in the three states. So Shankara has cleared it, and he said that smrita will mean memory. This can be a little bit confusing for people. How is it that the Atman is pure and unrelated but knows its states through memory? It does not know itself unless it sees its own reflection as three states. There is no notion of knowledge if there is no change of states. And if there is a change of states, it needs to be impressed on the memory, otherwise nothing is known. The change cannot be registered if it is not seen as some other state that existed in the memory. So he says the Shruti is also saying the same thing, like gives a metaphor of a fish. And now Anand Giri has a tika. So we know what the word pure means. These pleasure and pain and all these dualities, they are in the mind. They are not in the Atman. Atman is the witness of these states. And then he introduces the concept of jiva here, which is reflected consciousness, which is identical with Atman, falsely identifies himself with the states and considers himself to be pure, impure, miserable, etc. But the Atman is ever pure. So what happens, because the Atman knows itself by reflecting its nature out of these changing states, these illusory appearances, there appears a structure in the memory which says that I am these states, I am whatever appears, which is very, very natural, seeing that the Atman cannot be seen. The Atman remains as a background of these states. So structure in the memory appears, which is known as the Jeev, and Jeev has a self-organized intelligence, intellect, which can see because it has access to the memory. It can interact with the memory, it is related to the memory, and it sees that it is changing. The states are changing, and therefore I am those changing states. This kind of assumptions, they creep into the jiva. It cannot see that which is reflecting through itself. It can only see the changes. It has an intelligence, but it is very limited. Atman has no intelligence. Atman has no ignorance. Atman has no knowledge. It's very pure. It is just pure emptiness. But the jiva has so many things. It is born out of change, self-organized change, and it considers itself as change. So in the case of a human, which is a particular kind of jiva, the human considers himself as a body which is born, which changes, and then which dies. And the human also considers whatever arises in the mind as a subtle experience. It is like a dream. And the human also considers these changing things as himself. So a jiva or an ego is born in this way. It is just a case of identification, that's all. Ownership, it's a process that owns whatever is happening in front of it. It cannot see what is actually witnessing. It only sees that which is being witnessed. So this very amusing thing happens in these three states. Just like I said, it is not it is not a small thing. The word Om, which encompasses three states, encompasses all these details also that happen in the three states. So the jiva appears in two states only, not in the deep sleep. In the deep sleep, the jiva is absent because the mental activity and the memory is shut down. So, the jiva is the impermanent. The one that is permanent is Atman, also known as Brahman or Satchidanand. So what does he say about the unrelated part? No relation of any kind, even that of causality, exists between the three states and Atman, as the latter alone exists. That Atman is unrelated is further known from the fact that the experiences of the waking state do not in reality affect Atman in the dream state, nor those of the dream state affect Atman in the state of deep sleep. So many people have this notion that the Atman is causing the state, and Anandagiri says that unrelated means there is no cause and effect. The states are not caused by Atman. The Atman is the witness only. The states and whatever happens in those states, the events that seem to happen in time, they appear non-causally. It is a causal, not caused. And the proper technical word is that it simply appears. If you say that I am the Atman and I am causing all the experiences, then it is a false statement. There is no causal relationship that is seen between the witness and the witnessed. The relationship is not really relationship. You can say witnessing is a relationship. No, it is not relationship. It takes two for there to be relation. If it is one, then there is no relation. The one does not exist without the other. It is one. The relationship between two faces of the coin is that they are one. It is not that the one face of the coin causes the other face. to be there. No, they do not exist independently. So those who are accustomed of thinking that everything has a cause, their intellect fails to grasp the Atman. They keep juggling their old concepts of causality to find a relation. This happens in materialism, where people think that the matter is causing the consciousness, because they cannot get out of this pit of causality, this blind belief in causality. There is causality between the events in the witnessed part, in the states. The experiences can show a causality, but the experiencer is not related to the experiences. It is one. That's all you can say. Not caused. One does not cause the other. This is what the ancient people seem to know very, very firmly, which the modern people cannot grasp for some reason. Their conditioning is very, very strong. The blind beliefs have taken over, so they cannot understand the simple thing that there can be existence without causality. And actually the truth is, whole of the existence is non-causal. They see through their tiny intellect that one thing is causing other thing in the waking state. So they extend this thing into the realm of reality where it does not work. Remember, that which is non-local, non-temporal, non-causal. That which appears have this kind of interrelations because it is a structure in memory. It is self-organized itself, so there appears an illusion of causality, that one thing is leading to the other thing. It is simply changing, and some things change in organized way, that's all. Now we cannot extend this relations that are happening on the screen to the screen. If an event happens on the screen and we can see a causal relationship between parts of that event, we cannot say that the events on the screen are causing the screen. The screen is there. Whatever appears on the screen is also there. There is no relation between the screen and what appears on the screen, except that the screen and the picture are one. The pictures are just a projection on the screen. So this is a big understanding that happened in Advert, never seen in any other philosophy. Probably there are some derivatives of this kind, but the reality is uncaused. It is our direct experience, and it satisfies all logical criteria. So Anandgiri has more comments here. He's saying, from the standpoint of common experience, we find a relationship between past, present and future. This is due to the unifying power of memory. Even this relationship between experiences is possible only if an Atman is posited as the witness of them. So this is a very deep statement which says that if you want to find a relationship, any kind, causal, non-causal, semi-causal, whatever, between the changing states, then it is possible only because of memory. You take away the memory and then nothing is changing. Everything just is. So very deep insight here, very, very deep insight. There is no past, present and future if there is no memory. And through this memory and through the experience of the memory, the consciousness knows its states. It does not know them directly. The Atman cannot witness anything directly. It needs a memory. Now we know why there is a mind. Mind is nothing but memory, changing memory, that's all. So whatever is being witnessed is a mind. Because there is nothing else to witness. There is no past, there is no present, and there is no future. All these illusions are being created by a changing memory, which is an illusion in itself. So there is a relation, there can be relationship, because the memory organizes itself in certain algorithmic forms, and we recognize only that. We do not recognize the random changes. Actually, they are invisible to the intellect. I don't know about the Atman because nothing can be said about the Atman, what it is really witnessing. But something can be said about the organized experiences that are being witnessed, and there can appear illusory relationships between experiences, apparent relationships between experiences. So the whole causality is an illusion actually, because all experiences are illusions, and all relation that you and the intellect builds up, that intellect creates between these illusory happenings, is again an illusion. How even the experience of the memory is established, and it is possible only if there is Atman. And if there is no witnessing of the memory and relations, then nothing is there. Nothing is there. So it is the Atman and is the unifying thread throughout these various experiences of changing states and memory, and even the Jeev that appears as a structure in the memory, that appears as a thought structure, that I am the changing things. It is amazing. It is amazing that this is even happening. Now, he talked about the fish, and I don't know really. If you read the Mandukya Upanishad, then probably you will find this metaphor of fish, which swims from one bank to the another, unimpeded by the currents of the river. And it is compared with the Atman, who moves in all the three states, whatever states, totally unaffected by them, because there is no relationship. It cannot be affected. There is absolutely no effect on Atman of what appears in front of it. So another illustration is that of a bird which flies unobstructed in the sky and unattached to the surrounding land. The land, whether it is mountains or rivers or ponds, do not affect the bird which flies on them. The consciousness flies on the terrain of three states, not affected by them. It is the Jeev who thinks that I am the one that is changing, and so is affected by whatever is changing, not the Atman. So Jeev can be translated into English as the ego, the identity, which thinks I am the body mind, I am the changing state. I slept and I woke up and I saw a dream, and these are the thought forms called the Jeev. So when the identification with the Jeev is dropped, what remains is the witness of the three states. Let's go forward. Now Gaudapada is saying, Vishva is he who cognizes in the right eye. Taijasa is he who cognizes in the mind within, and Prajna is he who constitutes the Akash in the heart. Thus, the one Atman is conceived as threefold in the one body. So, as you can see, a lot of imagery here, a lot of poetry is going on. So, these kind of verses cannot be understood without commentary. It has to be explained by the one who cooked up this kind of metaphors. What does it mean? Vishwa is who is he who cognizes in the right eye. So you can see this word, these two words, they say this thing, and it has been translated as the one who cognizes in the right eye. And this is very obvious. It is not that cryptic, that the Taijasa cognizes in the mind. And now a new word, Akash, or space, or the heart of Akash, where the Prajna is situated. And this is how, in these three ways, the Atman is structured or situated in a body. So beyond my understanding, so let us see what Shankara is saying about this. This verse is intended to show that the threefold experience of Vishwa, etc., is realized in the waking state alone. Dakshinakshi, the means of perception, of gross objects, is the right eye. The presence of Vishwa, the cognizer of gross objects, is chiefly felt there. The Shruti also says, the person that is in the right eye is known as Indra, the luminous one. Indra, which means the effulgent one, who is the Vaishnavar and also known as the Virat Atman, the totality of gross bodies. The perceiver in the sun is the same as the perceiver in the eye. Now, totally beyond me, totally lost in the metaphors here. So let us see if Anandgiri has something. Waking state alone. From the ordinary empirical standpoint, Vishwa, Tejas and Prajna are generally related to three states, which is waking, dream and sleep. But the three states are comprehended from the standpoint of the waking state alone. That dream and deep sleep are two states having different characteristics is known in the waking state alone. Therefore, these two become known to the waking consciousness. Besides Jagrat, and that is waking, in so far as it denotes the absence of the knowledge of reality, covers the dream and deep states as well. The three apparent cognizers are really one, because a plurality of perceivers in the same state, namely the waking and in the same body, is an absurdity, as that would preclude the possibility of continuing of perception as revealed through memory. Therefore, the apparently three different perceivers are identical, and their apparent distinction is due to their identification with the three states. So how do I know that I am the same one who was in the dream and I am the same one who is sleeping? It is known only when the memory is active. The memory is active only in the waking state. It is not active in it, or it is partially active in other states. Dream the dream person knows himself as dream character only. But upon waking, we know the dream character as myself. This is possible because the dream character is impressed on the memory and the witness of the memory is one and the same. So that is clear, that is somewhat clear that the waking state alone gives you an idea of the singularity of consciousness, that there are no three, there is one which is going through the states. So he is also commenting that the state of imagination is just like dreaming. There is no difference between the dream state and the state of imagination. There is a tiny difference. He says that the dream is a whole state, whereas imagination is a tiny part of it. So some commentary on the new words called Hiranyagarbha, Virat and all. Virat, you know what is Virat. New thing has come up which is Hiranyagarbha, and we'll try to join the dots here. That Vishwa and Virat, as well as Pragya and Ishwar, are identical. It is interesting that he calls Ishvara as unmanifested. Has already shown, now it is pointed out that Hiranyagarbha is identical with Tejas. Now Hiranyagarbha is a concept in the Vedic literature which says that it is the seed out of which the whole existence is born. So he says that it is identical with the Tejas state, the dreaming state. Hiranyagarbha and Tejas are only what are termed as the cosmic mind and the individual mind, respectively. So the cosmic mind is dreaming, the Hiranyagarbha is dreaming. Actually, this word means golden womb. The whole manifested existence comes out of the golden womb, which is nothing but a cosmic mind. Sometimes I call it the universal mind. And it is showing a dream, it is dreaming. It has created a dream for itself. Whatever is there in its memory is appearing as a dream. So its nature is Tejas. It is identical with Tejas. Only that the dreams that we see in the night are coming from the small part of the cosmic mind, which is the individual mind. So he says, really speaking, microcosm and microcosm, both being mere forms of thought, are identical. So the individual mind is an illusion. It is actually the cosmic mind which thinks is I am individual. They are forms of thought and are identical. This is what Anandgiri is saying. And I think that is a very big insight. Therefore, the perceivers, Hiranyagarbha and Tejas, are identical because they are also forms of thought. Their different appellations are due to their identification with different upadhis, adjuncts, namely the thoughts of microcosm and microcosm, macrocosm and microcosm. So, I don't know how it came into this thing, but how it is relevant to what Gaudapada is saying, but there is a relation. So let me just look at what is going on here, and we'll try to connect it with the original verse. So people throw around a lot of words, you see. Saguna Brahma came up here. It is defined as the seed. So there are so many names. Just now we defined the Hiranyagarbha as a seed also. So it is almost guaranteed that anybody will get confused by reading these things. Especially if there is no direct experience of what these words mean. Now, one more comment about the seed. And the causal standpoint comprises false apprehension and non-apprehension as well as their effects. The Nyayikas affirm this causal standpoint, popularly known as the cosmic ignorance, to be a padarth or independent category which arises in the absence of contact of sense organ with its object. Therefore, Jnanam, according to them, is negation of abhav. But according to Vedanta, Jnanam is not purely a negation. So, probably we should not go there. It is some commentary on the Nyaya philosophy, which is completely different. It is a dualistic and almost materialistic philosophy. So, there is not much. Anandgiri did not explain everything in this right eye and whatever is going on here, Akash and whatever. Anybody who is listening, if anybody wants to comment, most welcome. I don't know how is it is going. How is the stream? Looks like it is working. So what I can, after little bit of a few seconds of contemplation, this much is clear. It is realized in the waking state alone. Although the verse does not say it, probably this line denotes that it is the waking state where all the other states are cognized, are known. Now this is completely beyond me. It has to be symbolic in some form, because if the right eye is perceiving the gross objects, then what is the left eye doing? Is it blind? I don't know. I mean, probably it is related to some other philosophy, some other scripture somewhere where these things are revealed, and it has to be a symbolic thing. It is never, when the scriptures say things like this, it is never to be taken literally. Because yes, I cannot, does not make any sense that only the right eye will perceive the gross objects, the left eye is left with nothing. It's not possible. So probably there is some connection to some kind of metaphor here. That is what I could think. And he says the presence of Vishva, the cognizer of gross objects, is chiefly felt there. So probably the word right eye or Dakshinakshi, very difficult word, Dakshinakshi, has to be translated in some other way, which is lost in translation here. It got translated as the right eye. Charlie is saying it is working. Very good. Anybody want to comment on the right eye? What is this? What is the matter here? Because I don't frankly read all the scriptures, so I don't have any idea. And I'm reading all these things just to get an idea of what these ancient people are talking. So, it is building up, slowly building up. And hopefully you are also benefiting, those who are watching. Their database is also building up, isn't it? If we continue doing this, we'll be able to decode probably 80 to 90% of all the ancient scriptures. So even if it is not my goal, it is not a worthwhile goal, because no new knowledge there. Only the way in which it is explained is absolutely beautiful. That's all. We want to see what they are saying. It is a fun project. So he says that this presence of the Vishwa is felt there, which I do not see why it is so. Considering the right eye to be the actual eye on the body, the current body. If it means something else, for example, the heart always means the innermost space in which the cognition is happening, where the emotions are happening. It does not mean the organ heart. It does not mean anything else. Innermost place, that is the meaning of the heart. So the word heart comes here also. The Hidya or however it is written, you see, comes here also, but that comes in relation to the Pragya, not in relation to the Vishva. So the Vishwa is not felt in the heart. You can actually say like this. He's saying is felt there. There means not here. And the Shruti also says the person that is in the right eye is known as Indra, the luminous one. Now, totally beyond me, and I don't think Anand Giri held here. He did not tell us the luminous one, who is that, and it always gives me a link to this Upanishad. Probably we'll go and read this Upanishad someday. So this sentence can give you a little bit of hint that Indra, which means the effulgent one, who is the Vishwanar and also known as the Virat Atman, the totality of the gross bodies, the perceiver in the sun is the same as the perceiver in the eye. Now, frankly I cannot understand what is going on here. You can understand the Virat. The Virat is totality of all the creatures, all the universes. It is same as the Vishwanar. That is what is being cognized in the waking state, isn't it? So in my terminology, it will be the universal mind, which appears in the waking state or in similar states, waking states in the other universes, in the other parts of the universal mind. Same thing. And this I cannot understand, the perceiver in the sun. It is metaphorical, something different. But yes, you can understand this thing that this whatever is perceiving the Virat is same as the Vishwanar. Now there is an objection. The Hiranyagarbha is distinct from the knower of the body, Kshetra, who is the cognizer, the controller of the right eye, who is also the general experiencer and who is the lord of the body. And Shankara says no, for in reality such a distinction is not admitted. The Shruti says one effulgent being alone is hidden in all beings. The Smriti also says me do thou also know, O Arjun, to be the Kshetragya, the knower of the body in all Kshetras bodies. This is written in Gita. So indivisible, yet it exists as if divided in beings. Though the presence of Vishwa is equally felt in all sense organs without distinction, yet the right eye is particularly singled out as the chief instrument for its perception, because he, Vishwa, makes a greater use of the right eye in perceiving objects. So there he reveals that the Vishwa makes greater use of the right eye in perceiving objects. The right eye made here to represent all the sense organs. So now it is an interpretation only, but depends on you if you want to accept it or not. Why call it right eye instead of calling it sense organs? The one who has his abode in the right eye, having perceived external forms, closes the eye and then recollecting them within the mind sees the very same external objects as in a dream, as the manifestation of the subtle impressions of memory, as is the case here in the waking. So also is the case with dream. Therefore, Tejas, the perceiver in the mind within, is verily the same as Vishwa. With the cessation of the activity known as memory, the perceiver in the waking and dream states is unified with Pragya in the Akash of the heart and becomes verily a mass of consciousness. Because there is then cessation of mental activities, both perception and memory are forms of thought, in the absence of which the seer remains indistinguishably in the form of Prana in the heart alone. For the Shruti also says, Prana alone withdraws all these within. Tejas is identical with Hiranyagarbha on the account of its existence being realized in mind. Mind is the characteristics, their indication of both. This is supported by such scriptural passages as this Purush Hiranyagarbha is all mind. So we can go backwards. Now you can see the origin of Hiranyagarbha here, which is called Purush now, and this you can recognize is coming from the Sankhya philosophy. So a lot of mixture and blending here of all these words from different philosophies. Now Akash comes from probably another line of thought, which is the primordial substance out of which it is the mental substance out of which all substances come out. So Akash of the heart of Akash, one and the same thing. It is the one who is in the seed form, same as the Akash. So I see a drawback in these kind of description is people do not stay with one terminology. They do not stay with the metaphors that work every time. A lot of drifting here and there. So if you want to call sense organs as the right eye, then stick to the right eye. You define it once as right eye and then leave it. No objection there. But sometimes it pops out. Sometimes these words pop out and then they're forgotten. And then somebody else mentions it. And then again you will need to define everything. What do I mean by words? This is a big problem in these Indian philosophies. According to me at least. That is why I find it very cumbersome to read. Now, what is all this saying is that it is a reply to this objection that, the causal is different from the knower, in which the body appears, which is the Hiranyagarbha, is different from the knower. So he goes into the Smriti, which means the Gita, and he says, no, this distinction is not admitted. Now we can see that it is a debate which is based on scriptures, based on the word soup of this kind. So we can totally ignore it actually. It is not relevant at this time. So even if you know the meaning of these words completely, you will find that this is a simple misunderstanding between two philosophies. That's all it is. And the misunderstanding happens because their terminologies and their metaphors and their meanings are different. So he is trying to clear it, that is all. I am going to skip it then. We are more interested in what Gaudapada has to say. So, in the light of commentary, let me synthesize what this means, what the whole of this verse means. You have a good idea about the right eye, hopefully. I don't. You can simply substitute the sense organs here. Physical sense organs, the 5 organs. Forget about the right eye. So Vishwa is he who cognizes through the gross senses. Now everything is fine, everything is okay. It makes sense. And Tejas is who cognizes in the mind. It does not involve the gross senses. Every experience in the Tejas state comes from the mind, memory. And Prajna is the who constitutes the Akash in the heart. You can substitute the word Akash with a universal mind, a cosmic mind, Hiranyagarbha, or whatever you fancy. This is the primordial substance, which is a potential. It is not even a substance. It is the potential for there something to happen. It is a potential for something to happen. That is Akash. So now you know that this heart is not really the heart, and this body is not really the human body, but attempt has been made to relate the body with the 3 states of consciousness. I can still see that my understanding is raw here a little bit. Could not get the intention behind saying these things. So we are on the verse 1.3-5. I don't know how they are. So it is number 3 anyway. Vishwa always experiences the gross, Tejas the subtle, and Prajna is the blissful. Know these to be the threefold experiences. Okay. And number 4, the gross object satisfies Vishwa, the subtle, the Tejas, and the blissful, the Prajna. Know these to be the threefold satisfaction. So Shankara says, okay, I have already explained number 3 and 4. And I agree because it's a repeat of what was already said. Number 5. He who knows both the experiencer and the objects of experience that have been described associated with these 3 states is not affected through experiencing the objects. So there are some new Sanskrit words here, so probably it will become clear as we read the commentary. In the 3 states, namely waking, etc., the one and the same object of experience appears in threefold forms as the gross, the subtle, and blissful. Further, the experiencer of the 3 states, known differently as so and so, has been described as one on account of the unity of consciousness implied in such cognition as I am that common to all conditions, as well as from the absence of any distinction in the respect of the perceiver. He who knows the 2, experiencer and the objects of experience, appearing as many in the form of subject and objects of experience, though enjoying them, is not affected thereby. Because all objects of experience are experienced by one subject alone, as the heat of the fire does not increase or decrease by consuming wood. So also nothing is added to or taken away from the knowingness or awareness of the Atman by its experience of that which is its object. So there are two insights here. The first is the same object of experience appears in threefold forms. The consciousness is experiencing one thing and one thing only, that is the vibrations, and they appear in three forms. The three forms, you know, the world is the first form which appears in the waking state. The dream world is the other form which appears in the dreaming state, and bliss, it is called blissful because no form, no mind appears in the sleep state. The same is getting converted into many forms. It is a big insight. There is only one mind, and because of the changing states, it takes different forms. There are modes of perception that are changing, not the object. So, something important here. It is food for thought. And further, the one who is experiencing them is not affected through experiencing. The experiencing does not do anything to the experiencer. And he gives a metaphor which I could not understand. Let me check. So Anandgiri is saying the self or Atman, when it knows that it is the witness of the three states, is not subject to any modification by the experiencer of the objects thereof, because he knows these objects, including their perceivers, are mere mana spandanam, or his own thoughts, and hence unreal. An imaginary tiger or the one seen in the dream cannot harm its perceiver. So, even though the fire and the wood metaphor, I could not make much of it, but this is more clear that the Atman is not affected by anything because there is inherent knowing that these forms are imaginary. Mana Spandanam, you can translate it as mental vibrations. Spandan is vibration, mana is mental, mind. So yes, mind only, is mind only and unreal. The experiencer is real. Whatever appears is unreal. This is something which is known by the experiencer. Now, there are no better words here to say it because there is no knowledge really in the experiencer. So, but when we reflect this kind of state of the experiencer, that it has this intuitive knowledge that the dream cannot harm me, it is imaginary, then we can understand why it is not getting affected. So he says, similarly, imaginary tiger is not going to harm me, so I can imagine whatever I want. That is what is happening. It is highly approximate way of saying it, but probably you get the point that why it is not affected. Because there is an internal knowledge in the experiencer that they are not real. These forms are not real. They are being perceived by the different mental instruments as objects, and so it is not affected. So I think there is some mention of snake here, but it is not appearing in the translation. Let us check another source. The experiencer and the objects of experience associated with the three states have been described. He who knows these both, does not become attached to objects through enjoying them, though enjoying them. So, a different translation, but probably it is not word to word. So we get an answer to this question that may arise, that why there is no causal relation between that which appears and to which it appears. Why it is they do not affect each other? And the answer is because that which appears is unreal. It has no potency. It has no weight to cause any kind of change in to which it is appearing. In other words, both are empty. Both have no substance. They are substanceless. Both of them. So the question of one getting affected by other should not arise. Yes, one appearance can affect the other appearance, but the ground of appearance and the appearance, they are empty. Nothing can affect anything. I mean, this idea of getting affected is meaningless when it comes to reality. It is thoroughly established that the coming into the effect can be predicted only of all positive entities that exist. The Prana manifests all, the Purush creates the conscious beings in their manifold forms separately. The manifestation can be predicted of positive entities comprehended as different forms of Vishva, Taijasa, Prajna, whose existence of the nature of illusory names and forms caused by an innate avidya cannot be denied. Let us get the meaning of positive first, if it is there. Karikas from 6 to 9 give different views of manifestation. The Karika under discussion points out that the manifested universe is not non-existent like the son of a barren woman. It has an empirical existence. The object of this is only to show that no causal relation can be predicted of Brahman as Pragya unless we admit the positive existence of the world. The detailed discussion about causality will be found in the body of the Karikas. So probably by saying that it is positive. He is willing to admit that they really exist. This is thus explained later on. Neither in reality nor in illusion can the son of a barren woman be said to be born. For if things could come out of non-entity, Brahman, whose existence is inferred from experience, will itself be rendered as non-entity because of the absence of means of comprehension. That the snake in the rope appearing as such on account of an illusory cause, Maya, which itself is the effect of ignorance, pre-exists in the form of rope, is a matter of common experience. For by no one is the illusion of the rope snake or the mirage etc. ever perceived without a substratum. As before the illusory appearance of the snake, its existence was certainly there in the rope. So also all positive entities before their manifestation certainly exist in the form of a cause, that is Prana. The Shruti also declares this in passages such as, all this phenomenal universe was verily Brahman at the beginning, and all this existed in the beginning as Atman. Prana manifests all. As the rays proceed from the sun, so also all different centers of consciousness, that is the Jeev, which are like the many reflections of the same sun in the water, and which are manifested differently as Vishva, Taijasa and Prajna, comprising various physical forms of gods, animals, etc. Proceed from the Purush. The Purush manifests all these entities called as living beings, which are different from inanimate objects, but of the same nature as itself, like fire and its sparks, and like sun with its reflections in water. Prana, the causal self, manifests all other entities like the spider producing the web. There are such scriptural passages in the support as the sparks from fire, etc. So, ignoring whatever the Shruti says, the essence of this verse seems to be, to me, that whatever is manifested cannot be said to be manifested from nothing. You can say that they are coming out of something, and that something has been called the Prana, which is the energy that organizes memories, that organizes mental stuff. This is the Prana. So he is giving an example that the snake in the rope pre-exists in the form of the rope, and it is a matter of common experience. No rope, no snake. So although a rope is the truth of the snake, and the snake is illusory, which has been projected on the rope, but we cannot say that the snake came out of nothing. He is arguing like this. So he, again, one more metaphor, that neither in reality nor in illusion can the son of a barren woman be said to be born. If the woman is barren, then there is no question of even an illusion of the son, or there is no real son. So this comes up a lot in the Advert text. So I'm going backward because you see, sometimes this helps. So the manifestation can be predicted of positive entities, comprehended as the different forms of Vishva, Taijasa, Prajna, whose existence of the nature of illusory names and forms, caused by an innate avidya, cannot be denied. So if you are willing to admit the positive entities, then you cannot deny that their existence is because of an ignorance of the real cause. If we could see the real cause, their ignorance will be gone, and the entities will be gone with it. Probably that is the meaning of it. So the Prana manifests all. You can postulate something out of which all these illusory entities are being produced, and then you can theorize a Purush which creates all the conscious beings, that is the Jivas, in the variety of forms separately. So Anandgiri also says that the manifested universe has an empirical existence. It can be experienced, but probably no real existence, but as an experience it is there. And he is saying, although he is using the word the causal relation, but you can say inference of the Brahman cannot be made if there is no existence of the world. If there is only pragya, then nothing can be said about the Brahman. There needs to be an appearance, there needs to be a manifested world, and then the Brahman can be inferred. Brahman cannot be seen directly, it is the one who is seeing itself. So he says, unless we admit the positive existence of the world, I mean, this word positive is throwing me off again and again and again. So I was trying to find which Sanskrit word has been translated as positive, but that we don't have that kind of facility here. So I could not understand the first line here, and therefore will need to rely on the translation only. So this is another translation. Surely coming into existence must be predicted of all positive entities that exist. Prana manifests all inanimate objects. The Purush manifests the conscious beings in their manifold forms. So it is another way of saying the same things. But still the sentence is formed in a very complicated way. Can be understood by a proper philosopher only. Probably I'll get more insight into it. Let me read, let it cook a little bit. Those who depend upon causality to prove the existence of Brahman cannot but believe in the existence of the manifested objects through which alone they infer Brahman to be the cause of all. Vedanta makes a distinction between avidya and Maya from the causal standpoint. Maya is associated with Ishwar and it represents the variety in the universe. It means here only the inanimate objects. It is indicated by the text as well as the commentary that there are two manifestors, namely the Purush and the Prana. The Purush manifests the Jiva and the Prana, the inanimate objects. From the empirical standpoint, we see two kinds of manifestations, the sentient and the insentient. Therefore, we naturally ascribe these to two manifestors, Purush and the Prana. The general principle of causality is that the like produces the like, but in reality, Prana is identical with Purush. Fortunately, Brahman is looked upon as the manifester of the universe. When he manifests the insentient objects, he is said to be Prana, and when he manifests the sentient beings, he is called Purush. So, this distinction between sentient and insentient, Purush and Prakriti or Purush and Prana, is an illusory one. The illusion appears of two manifestors because we tend to divide our experience into two, the animate and inanimate, and therefore we assume two causes for them. And he says, no, that will be a mistake. There is only one which appears as in two types. So yes, whatever he said here, that these simply, their purpose is to give different views of the manifestations. It is not really saying that there are different manifestations. It is simply saying that the manifestation can be seen from different points of views. That is what I could gather so far. So here Shankara is also saying that without a substratum, the illusion is also not there. The illusion is not perceived. And this substratum can be taken as the manifester, as the cause. And then you can cook up many kinds of it. Then it is a free country. You can do whatever you want. Once this is established, that whatever exists is coming out of this substratum, which is Brahman only, although the relation is not causal, but you can assume it as a cause. And that causes a lot of confusion because gives rise to the dualistic philosophies like this. And even in the dualities, the causes take manifold forms. There are many causes. For example, he is talking about in the Prana, which manifests the insentient world, and the Purush, which manifests the intelligent beings, living things. So yes, I need to agree here that this verse is simply telling us the various ways in which the manifestation can be regarded. It is not telling us really that it happens like this. Those who think of the process of creation believe it to be the manifestation of the superhuman power of God, while others look upon it as of the same nature as dream and illusion. So this is another way of describing the manifestation. What is Shankara saying about this? Creation is the manifestation of the superhuman power of God. Thus think those who reflect on the process of creation. But those who intently think of the ultimate reality find no interest in the theory of creation. That no interest should be attached to the act of creation. It is also supported by such Shruti passages as Indra assumed diverse forms through Maya. The juggler throws the thread up in the sky, climbs by it with his arms, disappears from the sight, engages himself in a fight in which his limbs, having been severed, fall to the ground, and he rises up again. The onlooker, though witnessing the performance, does not evince any interest in the thought in regard to the reality of the jugglery performed by the juggler. Similarly, there is a real juggler who is other than the rope and the one that climbs up the rope. The manifestation of deep sleep, dream and waking is analogous to the throwing up of the rope by the juggler. And the Pragya, Vishva, Taijasa related to the three states are similar to the juggler, who appears to have climbed up the rope, as he, the juggler, remains on the ground unseen by the onlookers, having veiled himself, as it were, by his illusion. So also is the truth about the highest reality known as Turia. Therefore, those noble souls seeking Mooks evince interest in the contemplation of this Turia, but not in the creation, which is futile. The word Sapna-Maya Swarupa, meaning like dream and illusion, is intended to show that all these false notions regarding manifestation belong only to those who imagine the process of creation or manifestation. So pretty clear. I'm very happy that everything is made clear here. You can think of manifestation in whatever way you want, depending on your inclination. But the wise people, they don't want to cook up stories of creation, because they are seeking moksha, they are seeking liberation. They are not interested in how and why and by whom the creation happened. They are not interested in that at all. They want to get rid of it. So, but he gave a very elaborate picture of the magician doing the magic trick on the street, and a clever person can see, oh look, the real magician is hiding somewhere, and whatever is falling from the sky and whatever battles are happening in the sky, there's all smokes and mirrors. Not interested in that. The same way, on the path of knowledge, we don't engage ourselves in theories of how and why these illusory experiences are appearing. We say it is Swapna Maya Swarupa and then move on into moksha. Although it depends on your interest, isn't it? Those who are interested in the process of creation, they are going to call each and everything that they encounter as God. Because they cannot understand, comprehend it, they will call it superhuman. And some of them thinking that because this thing creates everything, it will create whatever I want it to create. I only need to request it, or in some cases like Occult, I need to command it and I'll get whatever I want. So a jnani can see the stupidity in this kind of activity and stays away. You cannot really find a reason there. That is what Gaudapada is saying. Do not try to find a reason or a creator or anything superhuman. Nothing. And he is just telling that the world has all kinds of views here. So extremely clear. And same thing here in the other translation. So I think it is already late. It's more than 1 hour 30 minutes. We had some dropouts here, that's why. So we can stop here and we'll continue with the other verses. Remember, we are only on the chapter 1 here. It is a big book, especially when you include the commentary on the commentary, and then my own commentary. Hopefully you found it interesting.